but from stocks and commodities to cryptocurrencies, which are booming at the moment. Tom has more.
Dini, thank you very much indeed. We are down here underneath the Al Wasl Dome at the truly innovative, very futuristic Expo City Dubai, and therefore rather fitting that we're talking about what many people thinks is the future of finance, if it isn't already. Bitcoin is the story of the town at the moment. Took a 2-year high late yesterday, on track for its biggest 2-day rally this year. Why? Signs, so a few of them out there, that large players are buying the cryptocurrency. More and more people converting and certainly investing in, where smaller rival Ether also is making some noise. Listen, all good and well us trying to make sense of it. Let's get the experts involved. Partner TradeDog Group, a group of crypto enterprises working together to really accelerate mass adoption of crypto and Web 3.0, is Saqr Ereiqat. He's joined us down here at Expo. Nice to be back at Expo City.
It's the first time I'm back here since the Expo.
Weird, isn't it?
It's so beautiful and so quiet and nice. So thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
No, it's great to have you, especially on an occasion like this one. I mean, I'm watching the markets every single moment at the moment. 56,921, sort of topped up at 57,000, come back down.
Yeah.
What's driving this at the moment?
Well, it's and thank you for having me again. I've been on the show advocating for this a couple of times, right?
Several years,
Several years,
early adopter.
And with that, I don't believe anyone's an expert because you introduced me as an expert. I think everyone should do some reading. What's driving this? It's demand and supply. Bitcoin is very straightforward. There's demand, there's supply. There's X amount of Bitcoins that are being created. There's X amount of Bitcoins that are now being asked for from the market. These ETFs, exchange traded funds, really created a massive inflow of new capital into the market, demanding more and more of these scarce Bitcoin. So there's only 21 million Bitcoin around, right? And in 2140, right? So today there's 19.6 million in circulation. It's expected that somewhere around 3.7 million are lost forever, right? So you have a limited supply of something that more and more people want something of. So it's rather straightforward.
I take that the supply and demand model that has been around for so long and it is the centre of so many industries as well. But why more demand? There's always been demand. I mean, you demand more, and all those that have been so invested into cryptocurrencies. But why now are we seeing those that might have been on the fence change their minds?
These ETFs are rather significant. The SEC came out and said, large institutions are allowed through these bank-traded products to buy Bitcoin and get exposure into Bitcoin. Owning Bitcoin is easier said than done. With that, these ETFs make it very simple for anyone to buy into it. What can't be forgotten is it's still early stage. So we're going to see some significant movement in these prices, because when you look at the entire cryptocurrency market, which consists today of 2.2 million cryptocurrencies, yes, you've heard me right, there's 2.2 million cryptocurrencies out there, and the entire market is just worth $2 trillion right now. In comparison, that is nothing on the global market. So if that just continues ahead, it's a joyful ride that we look forward to.
How far can it go? Looking at it, what's rallied 10% in the last 2 sessions at the moment. It's still in very positive territory as well. Given the nature of Bitcoin, and again, we'll get on to cryptocurrency in general in a while, but given the nature of Bitcoin, is this only going one way, or again, could we see a reduction?
Look, after 10 years in the space...
I'm not calling it.
And I've said it before, I'm not calling it. Having said that, when you zoom out long enough, when you stop looking at the prices on a daily basis, suddenly you realize when you zoom out long enough, this is only going one way, and it's going up. So there's already reports out there, don't listen to me saying it, there's already reports by Fidelity, by large institutions, calling for a $250,000 Bitcoin by next year. Michael Saylor calls for $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. I believe that the sky's the limit, because think of it this way. There's 60 million millionaires in the world, right? But there's only 19.6 million Bitcoin in circulation. If every millionaire just decides, I want one Bitcoin, what will that do to the market? Right? If more and more institutions, and we're seeing institutional capital flow in at an immense space. For the last 2 days, these Bitcoin ETFs have traded for higher than $3 billion on a daily basis. That is an impressive amount, right? And still, at the same time, it's impressive to us as, the small crypto people in the space. But really, when you look at it and zoom out on the global markets, there's still so much room for growth. It's being called the digital gold. I think it's much better than gold, because really, what can you do with gold? My Bitcoin, I can lend it out, I can move across borders with it, I can transact in it. And if we're just comparing it to gold, and I don't think it's a fair comparison, you'd rather compare it to properties, gold is a $10 trillion market today. How much room for growth does that leave us? Right?
And all we've talked about is one coin at the moment. What's interesting about it, and with good reason, Bitcoin has been a great standard bearer and it's special, etc. And yet, it's interesting seeing in the last couple of weeks that the headlines have been taken by others. Ether, obviously, up there or thereabouts. That's topped at 3.2 for the first time since 2022 in the last 24 hours or so as well. Is this a case of other cryptos benefiting from the positivity around Bitcoin, or something different?
So the terminology goes, everything that isn't Bitcoin is an altcoin, right? So even Ethereum, and Ethereum is a solid case. Having said that, nothing compares to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is truly decentralized. It doesn't have a governing authority around it. It's truly code as law. And with that, the history goes that every time Bitcoin pulls away and starts pulling up, the other tokens start pulling up again. And it's rather straightforward, because a lot of people enter into this market buying Bitcoin for the first time. So with that, the entire market starts moving upwards. But again, don't think of it as, what is this going to do today? What is this going to do tomorrow? Think of it this way. 10 years from now, someone's going to look at you and say, hey, you were there when Bitcoin was just starting at around 50K. What did you do? Right? What will you say to what really got me buying in regular amounts is that someone said, what were you going to say to your son when he asked you, how many Bitcoins did you buy me when Bitcoin was still affordable? Right? Don't think of this as a short-term asset. Think of this as a long-term asset. With that, there's a lot of opportunity, but obviously there's huge risk at the same time, and you should be aware of that.
But when people see the price going through the roof at the moment, when they see stories like the MicroStrategy buy-in at 155 million, etc., and they look at these extorted prices, and what we've got about a minute and a half left, so plenty of time. But one of your sort of mantras is mass adoption. Is that sort of pulling mass adoption back? Are people sort of thinking priced out already?
I slowly, I've heard this argument. Having said that, you can own 0.00001 Bitcoin. So don't think of it as you owning, let's say, one Bitcoin at $50,000, and the majority of people won't have $50,000 to invest in it. But think of it of you owning any part of an asset that is being introduced as a new asset class, an alternative to property and gold, that now is seeing large institutional adoption, and you have a chance to participate with just $100. Now, this is not investment advice. I just firmly believe in this space, and I have really signed my name in blood to this space, and I'm glad to see that so much positive things are happening. With that, watch out, research. Bitcoin really is king, and nothing can be compared to Bitcoin. And I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. It's just the longer I am in this space, the more I realize Bitcoin is special and everything else is something else.
And get yourself down to the Dubai International Boat Show. See how far your Bitcoin goes as well. Floating investments and all. Listen, Saqr, always good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. Saqr Ereiqat is partner at TradeDog Group. Do get in touch with them if you wish for more advice. This is the Business Breakfast. We are live from Expo City, Dubai.